The starting point for change is within the brain. Thoughts, good or bad, originate from the same physical unit but not the same line of thinking. One thought is filled with darkness, the other with light. Separation from the deceptive dark world is crucial to block the onslaught of traditional vanity and the destruction of time and true spirit. Consider Easter and Christmas as an example. Jeremiah warns against adopting pagan customs, which are just traditions. Every so-called minister of God should know this. If your church practices any of them, run away from that church quickly before you catch fever. The fever of the spirit of capitalism. Jeremiah 10 verses 2-4 states, "Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman, with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, so that it does not move." This clearly refers to Christmas celebrations rooted in another spirit, that of capital, from Greek-Roman tradition of their sun god. In that context, everything outside the Greek-Roman rule was considered pagan. We must undo the brainwashing of traditional human concepts burdened with control. This is the first step in understanding our place in God's creation. Throughout history, God has instructed humanity to mature to the next phase. God sees humanity's stubbornness as demonic as the devil allured to childlike materialism, clinging to traditions and questioning God's involvement. God cannot be divorced from life. Attempting to do so is illogical. It's what God described as stiff-neck, I say stupid. One cannot simply excommunicate God, just as one cannot divorce one's parents. Someone just needs to grow up and not explode like rotten children. Maturity is essential, not pushing problems onto future generations. The key to life is not the humane sacrifice of others, materialism, worldly wisdom, or money, which are all ultimately pointless and incapable of providing true happiness, not just for yourself but everything that involves you. True happiness comes from centering on God, not oneself, and not one's traditions of humanity. If I had a manifestation of a bad thought darkness and it made its debut on planet Earth, then it was evil-spirited. If it was a good and enlightenment of a thought, then it came from a spiritual line of thought. That thought is the Holy Ghost and the will of God in heaven that made its entrance on planet Earth. The rationality of the ghost, a deeper examination. We must establish clear terms of reference when discussing concepts like ghosts and out-of-body spirits. If a term deviates from reality, it becomes a contradiction, a falsehood. The term Holy Ghost specifically refers to the spirit and soul dedicated to the sacred principles of God. While not visually perceptible in a physical sense, its presence is felt and heard when its influence is manifested in the world. This concept of a ghost aligns with thoughts originating from the human brain, which can house both virtuous, heavenly, and harmful, hellish, intentions, representing the Father or the devil presented to you to choose. Therefore, any definition of ghost that strays from this reality is a fable. So when do we become responsible? We began by dispelling contradictions. This action will open the floodgate of truth. Literary expressions such as "his words are haunting" serve as appropriate metaphors. If you say anything out loud, it is a ghost, because it made itself present. You heard it, you felt it, but you did not see it in a physical form. There are no contradictions. To the wise, the biblical passage in Acts 7 verse 51 illustrates this. "Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, ye do always resist the Holy Ghost, as your fathers did, so do ye." This resistance to the Holy Ghost can be likened to tradition acting as a virus, a Trojan horse infiltrating society. This is why Jesus spoke of tending to one's garden. A daily practice of examining one's thoughts is necessary to remove the weeds that grow during periods of neglect. In later chapters you will learn how to understand any and everything within our universal construct of heaven and earth. We will weed out evolution, the Big Bang Theory as the dirty culprits in this insidious plot of a universal lie. The current dominant societal structure is the vision of the Constantine era and the Edict of Milan, which served as a viral influence throughout the world. This exploration of Rome's influence, and the clash between irrational and rational thought, which will be further examined in later chapters. Heaven is the spirituality of God, and hell in the preceding is about burning up with a desire to comprehend but cannot, which is the true living hell. Primarily due to the attitudinal relationship with material fixations. The traditions of men have become central to humankind, acting as a catalyst for the breakdown of God's law. This is achieved through manipulation, replacing the true nature of understanding with an artificial substitute. Maintaining the authenticity of wisdom and keeping it real is paramount and acts as a powerful force. Moses had a material fixation. A compelling example is at the burning bush in Genesis, where he was consumed by a desire to understand God's request. When God instructed Moses to remove his sandals, it symbolized that he was entering holy ground, a state of mind detached from the material realm. Exodus 3 verse 5, "And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy sandals from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground." This moment marked Moses' realization of his previous lack of understanding. The instruction was symbolically directional, urging Moses to look beyond the physical or material understanding and focus on the thoughtful, mindful, and spiritual aspect of the matter. Until Moses grasped the distinction between material and spiritual understanding, he was tormented by his desire to comprehend. For instance, when asked where one stands on the abortion issue, the inquiry is not about their physical, material stance but the mental or spiritual position on the matter. One is metaphorically instructed to remove their sandals, material mind, before the foundation of their beliefs, as they are entering a sacred space. God was indicating to Moses that his mind was not rightly aligned. Moses' intense desire to comprehend the burning bush is akin to the eternal fires of hell. The hair on Moses' head is symbolic of the bush. Since the beginning of time, ancient black people culturally have been known to wear a bush. So, to extinguish this fire, Moses had to shift his focus from the material to the spiritual implications.